I don't know what's from Russia.
No, maybe he hits out to that market.
Thank you very much.
Game. Maybe he hits out
It's
to
a good
that.
thing subtitles work, isn't it?
You know?
Oh yeah. You can
Yes.
do all of that. I don't know how you do that.
It's a little algorithm thing, though. You just put it on.
I think you can press a button, and I've seen it capture everything, like word for word. Like people have been using it. I just post up the
But
thing.
some
and use
people
that
have to go back in and then edit.
turn it on. But what it is, we can't use it on ours, or we can. But what it is, then it gets into the way of us, of the way that.
From where we're sitting, camera perception.
That's
So
right.
we
Yeah.
might have to elevate ourselves.
Not even that. Maybe the cut needs to be different, or it needs to be enlarged a bit so you see off. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, something a bit different, definitely.
Yeah.
Something a bit different.
Gents, I'm ready to roll.
We're rolling.
We're
So
rolling,
what
we're
we should be
rolling.
doing in this moment is sharing the live.
Okay, so
Well, your phone's not in your hand. Sorelli's is. So
I was told by Wiley
pet
we're not
today.
allowed to have our phones in our hand.
What's wrong with him today? He's on one today, isn't it?
Wiley said, "Don't have your phones in your hand for the podcast."
we don't share the live.
No, he says,
No,
"Don't have it."
You can share the live with your phone by all means. By all means.
Thank you,
but then
Headmaster.
but then when you're sitting down with the phone in your hand and you're doing all kind of shaking,
taking selfies?
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's not.
But this is my good side, though.
So, for the purpose of the people that are on the live, please can you share the live as we
Yep.
are
I'll
allowed
share
to
mine.
for the next couple minutes or so. I think as them man are doing, I'll probably just wrap it on. We 2 weeks ago we were here. Did we
Yeah.
have a new prime minister at that point?
No, we didn't.
So we've got-
the election was the next day.
Oh, the next day. So since then we have a new prime minister. Labour are in power, and
And you're vexed. Just say it.
No. No. You know what? Remember, I'm one of those that I couldn't vote for anybody. I was politically homeless, so I didn't vote for anybody. I went to the polling station and I cast my spoilt vote just to say no one can't tell me, oh, you didn't vote because you couldn't be bothered. No, I went down there, took a picture. I actually educated my son. So I took him to the polling station, even though you're supposed to. Apparently, you're not allowed to. So showed him the ballot paper, showed him the people that are on there, explained to him what polling stations are. So I did that, a little bit of education, and then I bounced. Labour government seems like they've got things in motion, but hey ho. But the biggest story, I've got a few, but I'm going to go with this one. Has anyone seen what's happened in Manchester Airport?
Yes.
The stuff.
So
Yes.
what's basically happened is video footage has come out of a man, maybe Muslim, not 100% sure, where he was laying on the floor, completely not face down, not doing anything, and he was attacked by a police officer. And I say attacked. What the police officer did, ran, punted him in the head, then stepped on his head. And then what the video footage...
It pans away, innit?
It kind of pans away, but as it pans away, it potentially, allegedly, shows the same man hitting the woman who's on the floor, tending to the man who's got kicked in the head.
As well.
Yeah.
Which,
Apparently.
which is the person's on the floor's mum.
Well, so again, with the story as it is right now, as it is, what's the time now? The time is now 8:26 on the 25th of July. The whole story as to what's happened hasn't come out. So there's been a few rumours where people are saying that the man that was laying on the floor had attacked 3 police officers and broke a female police officer's nose. Now, that's not 100% confirmed, but it might be the case. But regardless or irrespective of that, the force that was used by the officer was,
Excessive.
excessive. It was
At that
unproportionate.
particular time.
Because he was already...
Subdued.
Who's on the floor, lying down, face down, hands by his side. I believe he had one handcuff on one hand, I believe. But you'd have to look into the video. But no one knows of the real historical reason as to why he's lying down.
But to be fair, as you said, to take face value as it is, nothing more, nothing less than what was in the actual video. He's on his floor. He's on the floor.
Yep.
In a non-threatening position.
Yep.
He's fully laid down, flat, face, cheek is on the floor. Arms are by his side. The officer is armed, standing over him.
Numerous officers were
Yes.
armed.
Standing over him.
Tasers and guns.
It was the armed unit.
Yes, this wasn't just normal Bobby Ranhat foolishness. I just passed my thing yesterday.
Sorry, police officers. You do a great job.
Disrespect.
You said just pass
You
my thing
said
yesterday.
round hat, bruv.
Exactly.
Because I'm giving you your understanding.
context.
Yeah. You know them round hat man that walk around.
You saying round
This
hat, man?
is
there?
going viral again, and the police officers are going to
Why
be
are you
after.
saying round
Just so
hat,
we
man,
know, it was him that said it. Yeah, I don't want to be
Because there
stopped
is
and searched by police anymore.
Let me
please.
explain.
Go on then.
Wiley's going to edit it to make me look bad. But there are different types of police officers. If you
I
get
know.
stopped by the man then with the flat hat, you know it's on. The guys who
Are
carry...
you talking about
I don't know their names. I'm not that way. All I know is city police wear them.
You mean constables?
I don't know if... No, I thought all of them were constables.
The basic entry level, isn't it just constable
they-
X?
I think, yeah, and then they go up. But
PC
who
and then-
knows about the ranks?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I'm saying-
depending what rank you are, depending on what hat you have.
Not just that, depending on
And-
what borough you are. Because city
You
police...
mean what police?
Yeah, what police?
authority?
Yeah. City police, where the flat thing, the Bobbies on the beat that walk around Buckingham Palace. I don't know if it's for tourism or whatever. They wear the...
It's probably tourism.
Yeah, they wear the little round hat things. The man them that are around the area that are patrolling the nightclubs and them things there at night on their solos with no weapons. Little round hat things. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah, I was going to say, all I know is that if you see the policeman them in the yellow hat and it's a cap, just put your hands up. And
You know the funny thing?
Serene's on my face.
Here's the funny thing, yeah, and I'm going to link it to a story in America about a woman who got.
I was going to go on to that. But go
So,
on.
in that regard, yeah, do we think this story makes any news if there was no people video cameraing the whole thing happening?
Bruv, do you know how many times these things happen that are not captured on video?
This is what I'm
It's
asking
only the
question
ones
for.
that are captured on video that get any traction that we can discuss and talk about.
Yes.
Brother, it's happened to us in the room. Well, some of us in the room here.
Yeah.
Face
Yeah.
down on the floor. All right, we might not have got kicked in the face, but you're in a position where, all right, I've subdued myself now.
I don't get myself in that side of problems with the law.
No, do
Well,
I?
the thing is, you don't have
It's not a
to.
case of putting yourself in that position. That's the whole point.
I remember.
You find yourself there,
Yeah, but you can
locally and internationally.
locally
Yeah.
and internationally.
But the fact that we're talking about this shows that
The fact you're saying internationally means that there's some sort of a story somewhere
we won't even
about
talk about
somebody.
we don't talk about I mean, Bruno.
So I guess right. So the aggression by the police officer was too much.
Way too much.
Yeah, way too much. Now there is a side. So there was an MP, and I can't remember his name. I think it's something Anderson, who has basically said the police officer for his actions should get a medal.
That's probably Lee Anderson.
Lee Anderson, that's him. Yeah,
Reform MP.
Oh Jesus, yeah. So
He used to
him.
be Labour, then he went Conservative, now he's Reform.
Right. Okay. So I don't know what side he's on, but anyway, he said, "Oh, right. You should get a medal." So, with us not knowing no detail, so what he's saying is that police officer is justified for running in, kicking the man, and then stamping the man on the head. Safe. And it's mad. So that's causing uproar. The people them are protesting as we speak. They're outside Andy Burnham. I think he is the mayor
He's
of
the great,
Manchester.
the mayor of Manchester, yeah.
So they're outside his house now protesting, saying, "Rah, what are you going to do?" Home Secretary has met with Andy Burnham, and they're saying it's a travesty and all that kind of stuff. Because what this leads down to is the distrust in the police. Now, we can say the police are underfunded, but do you think instances like this lead to more distrust in the police?
100%.
Yeah, I don't think this is nothing to do with training. I think if
right.
I'm being honest with you, from what I can see, and this is my personal view of the short clip that I've seen, the officer is enraged. He's been told something, he's seen something, but something's infuriated him. And this is not to come off the point, but this is one of the reasons why they say you should never beat your child in anger, in rage. He is reacting to something that's happened, that's triggered him. Because the person is helpless. He's not in a threatening position. He's not defending anyone. And as far as I understand the law, if you're defending yourself, you're allowed to use force. If you're protecting somebody else or defending somebody else, you can use force. But there was no need or call for force in this position.
At that time.
At that time. So there's obviously something that's made him feel enraged. Now, if the claims that he had broken the nose of one of his fellow officers, that could be a reason why he's now, we don't know. The story may come out that that's his wife. That is his sister.
Or no, actually, I shouldn't say that.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say what I'm gonna say.
Not to defend him, but I'm saying that these are all scenarios or situations that may come out later.
The issue with it is, as soon as you're getting paid, then you have a contract of work. And if you have a contract of work, you have a code of conduct that you're meant to adhere to. Does this code of conduct allow that display of force to someone in that position? And if the answer is no, then he is not protected by his job. So therefore, he should be judged as anyone else attacking another person would be judged.
And just to jump in there, he's actually a civil servant. So the civil servant are there to protect the people. So he is responsible for us, or we pay him. Now, the officer in question has been suspended, pending an inquiry. Now, we all know what inquiries do. Inquiries go on for months, potentially years. We know the man got kicked in his... and this is where the system needs to change somehow. The officer kicked man in his head, stamped in his head. There was other witnesses around. What is the issue? The man needs to be... he needs to be suspended, potentially dismissed, from my point of view. If the man...
And then potentially prosecuted.
Yeah, exactly. And then there'll be a compensation claim, which you'll never hear about. Now, if he has assaulted a police officer, that comes with that guy. It does come with its own sanctions, but you take them down that legal route. And I'm not. If he has assaulted a police officer, that is wrong because he shouldn't do that, or the person shouldn't have done that. But what happens if he hasn't? And then this comes down to. So you was mentioning about you don't think it's training or not. I think there's something in. And again, I might get us cancelled or whatever, but I think there's something in police in general, especially in Western countries, where there's like it's almost like there's a low tolerance where something happens and they just go wild. Like that action there was wild. So the one that Wiley was talking about was Sonia Massey.
Yes.
Sonia Massey.
Yes.
So what happens was there was a call to her house. She opens the door. The police officers are there. She's talking to the police officer. He's talking to her. He makes a mad comment. I can't remember exactly what it is. And he tells her to turn off the stove.
Yes,
go and
that's
turn
right.
off the stove
Yeah.
because you got hot water on there. She says, okay, I'm going to go over there. Goes to turn off the stove because she says, don't want to cause a fire. He then says, he starts to back away. So she says, why are you backing away? So she goes, I don't know what you're going to do with that hot water. She says to him, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. So then he says, what? All right. Takes out his firearm. Bang, 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 bang. Shot dead. In a yacht. So the point I'm making is that there's a trigger. I believe in some police officers, there's a trigger. Something happens. It's, you know, like Winter Soldier, where the man says, I don't know, red cup, Jack Daniels, pum pum, rice, curry, and then he just goes mad. He activates. There's something in police that's what happens with them, because we've seen it numerous times with police brutality, going back to I don't know, stuff that happened in Broadwater Farm to stuff that happened over in Brixton, Peckham, blah blah blah, where police just act in a certain way, and it's in that training. It's in that training where they act mad.
So I've got a thing. Sorry. Taking it back one step. Training is obviously something you go through and for a period of time, and you hopefully at the end of it, you come out with something, be it a different frame of mind, a different attitude, understanding, education, whatever it is. To me, the problem we have at the moment comes pre-training, because it's almost like an emotional trigger, a moral compass to see somebody defenseless in that position, and for you to still say to yourself, I'm still going to do this. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like the vetting process. If I had to look at it from a non kind of philosophical point of view, the vetting process needs to be much, much, much more rigid than it is at the moment, because the types of people that are being allowed in is my concern. If you're that way inclined and you've got that, it doesn't matter how much training I give you, you'll be all right with the lads and everybody and whatnot, but push you to that point, you go back into that same attitude and you're doing. I mean, not to bash them, because every organization and everything has rotten fruit. But the stories that you hear coming out of the people that have been alleged sex offenders, people that have done these things and still being employed in a position of power, that for me is
mad.
where that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I don't think you'd get away with it in any other field. You wouldn't put a sex offender in front of a classroom of kids as a teacher. you know what I mean? That kind of safeguarding and that kind of stuff. It's almost like you need a safeguarding for adults. Or not even adults, human beings.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That kind of. So that's why I'm like, training's not really cutting it for me. It's your vetting process needs to be much. I know they're trying to make numbers, and I'm not saying that's the reason why, but there's a gate that needs to be installed at some point, a checkpoint that doesn't allow you past a certain area.
I think the thing is, what we have to remember is they're human beings. And they're human beings with prejudices, the human beings with emotions, with feelings, and the human beings who probably go into certain roles thinking that they want to exert some form of power.
Yeah.
And that is what it comes down to. If I want to exert power over people, I can exert that power by being a member of authority. And that's what listen, the whole thing in that one in America is mad because it's now transpired that the wife of the officer who did the shooting allegedly works in a hospital where the woman who was shot was getting treatment for mental health issues. Right. So there's a whole, because allegedly he said something about has she taken her medicine or something like that, something along those lines.
Yes, right at the beginning, yeah, you're right.
And he wouldn't have known that without having known her. So it seems like there was some sort of a knowledge of each other that they had. It's all being investigated. And, you know, I hope that I genuinely hope they get justice. Because I remember Sandra, I forget her surname now, the woman who was killed in America a couple of years ago. It begins with a B.
Sandra
but
Blaine, maybe.
She's had no justice.
Yeah.
So this can't have no justice. There has to be justice here. And it goes back to my question, to my point of, if there's no cameras, no one ain't talking about it. Their story is not being heard. If there's no cameras with them people there, their story is not being heard. So yeah. Interesting.
That's why I said, just film everything. But on a slightly lighter note, the Olympics starts tomorrow. So remember my story about, or the thing about the beds. So the beds.
Yes. Opening ceremony. Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
It started 2 days ago.
Yeah. The opening ceremony starts tomorrow with the traditional Olympic events starting tomorrow. The untraditional ones, which are the tennis, the football, and I believe the sevens rugby started on Monday, but they're not classed as traditional Olympic events. But thank you for your correction.
No problem.
Miscorrection.
So
It's not miscorrection.
I was watching a thing about the Olympics and what it is like in the Olympics village. And you know, apparently it is just a big chirpsing, frolicking parties to whatever, because the reason for this is
I was about
that
to say, elaborate.
the athletes go there to link up. It's a big international link up. The reason being is that right. Let's just imagine, yeah. So when Usain Bolt was running his team, so he's running for Jamaica. You're running for, let's just say you're running for a very small country, or you're running for a country, and you know your times are nowhere near Usain Bolt's. You know you're not placing because you've got Tyson Gale before you. You've got Isafa. Yeah, you've got all of them. So you know you can only place 9th out of the 7 lanes. So why are you going to the Olympics for? You're going there to link up gal. So apparently in the village, it's just party time all the time. So imagine what it was like in the London Olympics.
This is the thing. There were stories and whatnot that, especially with the new accommodation in Stratford, that they had to put wardens out and police, not police, but security, to stop members from leaving their sections and going into other sections, all these kind of things. It was quite interesting. Also, they had changed, and I know this because one of the people who worked on the project, they were double beds in some rooms. They took them all out and put single beds in all of them. They gave some lame story, but ultimately it was, if we give you big beds, it might even encourage you even more. So everybody had single beds.
So just think, when you're watching the Olympics, there's athletes, inverted commas, that are just checking gal and rare-tear-tearing, doing what they want to do.
So is that an advert for the kids to become athletes?
I don't know. Well, this is not really a kids podcast, though, is it? So I don't know if it's an advert
I'm not saying
for anyone.
to them. I'm just saying like.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just thought it was interesting, and I never thought of it like that until it was mentioned by someone who is an actual athlete that's been there and experienced it. So I was like, rah, okay, cool. But
you gather a group of people from different nations, different walks of life, and in their prime. In one area,
something's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, I've got 2 more. I'm going to go with one.
One from the US, yeah?
A or B?
B.
Right. So this is it's a serious one. So it's not a jovial one. It's going to be a very quick one. So hosts, get ready to kick in. So the supplies of the most universal blood type in the UK are at all-time low. So there is a 2-day supply left of blood type O negative in the UK. Now, the reason why the blood type O negative is so important to the UK is that it is the most universal blood type that can be used to patch any other blood type. So there's a big campaign at the moment which is saying, right, if you can, please donate blood. And I thought this is, like, we've got a bit of a platform, like 20,000 views on whatever. I thought it's quite important to mention it. The reason being is that whether we know it, we've either had somebody in hospital or we will have somebody in hospital that is going to need a blood transfusion. So I just thought it important to mention that if you do donate blood, like I've never donated blood, but hearing that and knowing that my son had an operation earlier on this year, and I know some of people that we know have been in the hospital and whatnot who may need it, I'm definitely going to donate some blood, probably by the time we do our next podcast. And you can check me and ask me for the detail and I would have done it. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of urging the man them, because you might have a rare blood type that might be more fitting to somebody of a minority community. So, yeah.
Do you know your blood type?
I'm O positive.
You didn't have to tell us. I just wanted to know if
I think I'm O positive.
You know yours?
Nope.
No.
You know, I don't. I'll tell you what though, touching on what Rain has said, very important because sickle cell.
Right.
It's a big thing, and we don't actually have enough people donating blood for people that have got sickle cell to actually be able to survive as long as they should do. So it's for our community, and I don't know what it is, you know. I mean, I've been saying for years I want to give blood, and I ain't done it yet. But we say we want to do these things, we never actually go out there and do it. And we don't understand the importance of how important it is for us in our community, because we make up such a small part of the population. And if you can then times that by how many people then don't give blood, it means that we have an even smaller window, so to speak, of people that can affect our health. We need to do more. 100% agree with what Rain's saying there. 100% agree with it.
That was it. Unless anyone's got more comment, we'll hand over to our host with the
most.
Oh, we're not going to touch the US.
I've been put in a corner for a bit.
put the corner
a bit.
Nobody was baby in the corner.
You know, like that. Go on, Dino. Go on.
So, gents.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Name something that you didn't have 10 years ago, but today you cannot live without. So I'm going to repeat it. Name something you didn't have 10 years ago, but today you can't live without it.
Can I make a little caveat to that? I need a little bit more than 10 years.
11 years. No. And you can't use children.
Yeah, I've got one, but it's a little bit more than 10 years.
Go on then.
Sat-nav.
It's a lot more than 10 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't using the A to Z 12, 15 years
I was
ago.
using the A to Z full stop.
Yeah, but we know why.
Serato. As a DJ, Serato. I wasn't using Serato 10 years ago.
Yeah, bun Serato though.
No, man. Serato
man,
is the game changer.
Yeah, you need to tell
As
us
a
what Serato is for the people who don't know.
for those who don't know, Serato is a DJ program that enables you to mix DJ like you're using vinyls. Game changer. For those of us that are DJs, it really was something that when it came in, it just changed how you could DJ, because you went from lugging around 10,000 records or even CD packs to being able to play like you're playing on vinyl, but using a computer to do it. Best thing ever.
Or it was a cheat code because you could beat match to mix.
Yeah.
You could also download the next man's. Okay, you've got that tune. What is it? Siri, tell me what this tune is that's playing right now. Boom. And then you've got, there's no exclusivity.
Why are you ramping with that?
We're going to get onto AI, you know. We're gonna have to
Why are you ramping with that?
Not this week. But I get what it's done. I get it makes it easier for DJs and whatnot. But I hate it.
But I think it's a fair comment. It's a very fair comment. If Wiley might have injured his shoulder carrying all this stuff around, and now,
you know, the thing is,
you know what I mean?
if you look at it, our generation of DJs, excuse me, when we were DJing with vinyl, we were using, let's say, Technic 1210s.
Yep.
But you go back 10 years from then, and the people DJing them will say we were cheating by using the 1210s because they were using decks with no pitch controls and stuff. So it's if I look at it as, I mean, I know I was like in Rain's corner before of, you know what, it's cheating, but actually it's evolution. You can't stop evolution. I look at it as the days when you used to be sorting out your vinyl and your records before you left your house. Now you just bring a hard drive. But everyone is doing it. You can't stop evolution.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Everybody is doing it. I get it. But there is a certain, like, there was mixing styles. Like, I could tell if Andy, I wouldn't even need to know who, I would even know. If you took the MC out, I could listen to Andy C and know he was different to DJ Ray Keith. I knew Ray Keith was different to Brocky or to, I don't know, Funky Flirt. Now, you DJs are doing all the same stuff. Like, to the point where I can tell you the tune that's coming in before you've even played it. And it is a big surprise when a DJ is playing something different. Now, and there's a few that do it. There's a few that mix it up. Shouts out to Mix Masters. Shouts out to, who's the ones from Northwest? Invasion.
Yes.
Like, they do different stuff. But there are a lot of people that just do the same stuff because it's easy. You've got your crate there, as in your crate, which is on your thing. You've got your 50 songs. I'm only playing these 50 songs. It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit.
But is that a reflection of
we're
the
not
crowd?
going to hammer down on these things.
I'm hammering it.
Yeah.
What's yours?
It's hard for
I'm
me.
not taking
I would say touchscreen.
You say what?
Okay.
Touchscreen, the invention or the introduction of that way of interfacing with technology. Yeah, touchscreen has made a big step forward for me.
Okay.
Let's
It's a
say
reach,
Mr. Rains.
but I'll let it slide.
I can't think of, and this is going to sound bad, isn't it? But I can't think of anything.
Bro, you need to delve into the archive.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Come back to me then. Come back to me. Let me have a think.
So I'm going to drop a few in. AirPods. Not having a wire thing, not having to hold my phone next to my face, being able to use my phone when I'm driving, and all that without the wire. Just a wireless Bluetooth headset.
Is that 10 years?
I don't think that's 10 years though.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm thinking of?
AirPods.
AirPods.
I was very clear.
You're
what I said.
talking about specifically AirPods.
I'm saying AirPods.
Here's the
Not
thing though,
wireless
but
headphones.
what I would ask you is for those that are watching, what's the difference between them AirPods and a Bluetooth headset?
I think beforehand, I remember I used to have the Jabra.
Brother,
Yes.
I was about to say the Jabra and the
Jabra.
Ant.
Yeah,
They
the
were
thing- the thing
miles
with the
away.
Jabra.
Jabra, jawbone thing.
Yeah.
I used to have all of that, but nah.
For me, they
Just
were.
the difference. No, the difference now is head and shoulders.
Is it?
Like being able to be able to tap my AirPod, talk to Siri, give my phone a command, and do all of that. My phone's over there. I don't need to touch the screen and all.
Don't say Siri too loud, you know. Siri.
I know.
No, it's been plugged out. It's been plugged out.
It's tuned into Rain's voice. So AirPods, things like wearable tech, watch device, step counting device, all of these kind of things. The way the technology has moved ahead, and now I integrate it into part of my life. So if I'm out and I'm wearing a watch, by the time I get home, I'm checking how much steps I've done. And I couldn't give one flying hoot about this beforehand, but now it's something which I'm very conscious about.
See,
Yeah?
that's not part of my life. So
You know what? I'm going to add one more,
Go on, Mr. Bull.
Video, social media. Because social media was out there before.
One second. I'm just going to give Sorelli one.
Go on.
The skull shaver. Go on.
Yes.
Go on,
Yes.
Wiley.
Video,
Yeah.
social media.
yeah, I'll give you that.
Video, social media. Because video, social media has just changed the way that I think we all integrate with what we watch, what we follow, and what we actually immerse ourselves with.
How news is presented to us now,
I
right?
don't even watch TV. I can't tell you the last time I actually sat down and properly watched TV.
Love Island, you said.
Not on the computer. I don't watch TV.
Look at him stuttering.
I don't
No stuttering. On the computer, I don't actually sit and properly watch TV. I haven't watched TV for years, unless it's live football. And even then,
Yeah,
I'm more
same.
time watching that on my phone or I'm watching it on a computer.
Yeah, what Supercell then?
Not yet.
Blood, you're moving
But
mad.
here's the thing.
You're moving mad.
No, but I'm planning to watch it. I have a plan of how
He's
I'm going to
waiting for it
watch
to
it.
release on
When
TikTok.
Clive watches it,
The thing is, when you started talking about the blood thing, I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna go into that.
I wasn't
But
You didn't know.
yeah,
Exactly.
That's why.
No, I know about it, but I weren't going to go into it.
Yeah, just in case we ask you a question.
yeah.
But if
Yeah.
what it is, it's a hard question.
it is.
But if you think about it, 10 years ago, right, the car that you had weren't on the road. Do you know what I mean? Look how that's changed your life. Would you go back?
Yeah,
Electric
yeah,
cars.
yeah.
Would you take it up? Do you get, for me, when I thought about it, I thought to myself, definitely my hands free, because now if I leave out and I don't have my hands free,
It's
I'm
a void.
fuming. I'm going back to go and get it. So
There is one thing. I'll challenge you on the hands free though.
it plays a part in my life.
The reason why I say that is because when we were talking about Joe Bone and the Jabra Arnold,
Jabra.
they did something that was amazing. They had the ability to lock off the background noise. And even now, a lot of the
The
headsets,
tech doesn't feel like it's as good.
it's not as good, brother. I remember having this thing on and
I
being
could be
in
in a
a,
rave, yeah, and you wouldn't know.
and I'm talking to
This is
someone
true,
and they're like,
yeah.
where are you? Yeah, don't worry about that, bro.
Yeah.
And the battery life went great and all of that, but the clarity it had for your voice and locking off everything else, I haven't personally come across another headset that does it with
Apart
that kind
from
of
headphones, apart from things like the Apple headphones or the Sony headphones that have noise cancelling, apart from that actual covering your ears,
Yeah, but noise
Yeah.
cancelling now means something totally different. Back then, noise cancelling was background noise cancelling. Now, noise cancelling is you listening, it knocks off the sound around you, so you get that kind of droning sound thing that buzzes in your ear, which I don't actually understand the technology to it. But it's quite disorientating when you've got it on.
So you guys are telling me there's nothing in the last 10 years that you can think of that's different.
I can think of something that made this different.
Go on.
And that is the attitudes towards interracial relationships, which we will get into. Which we will get into.
That was smooth.
Which we will get into. Yeah, man, which we will get into. We will get into. But yes, definitely. 10 years. The world has changed in 10 years. But this is the Empty Podcast. And myself, Mr. Wileycat DJ, and to my left,
Hey.
almost got my left and my right mixed up there. You know that? Because I moved around the
it's because
room
you're
now.
sitting buddies.
Yeah.
All of a
It's all,
sudden,
I'm so discombobulated.
Yeah.
To my left, I have.
Citrus, yaga yo 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 yo. It's a citrus in the
Oh, my
house,
God.
and we're running the show.
There's something wrong with that chair.
Do you know what it is? It's so weird going around that way
Don't watch
around the
that.
room.
Don't watch that.
And next to him, we have.
Rain, Bomber Clark Nelson. Yeah, put it back in there. I'm here again. Sorry, mum.
And last but not least, we have.
Sorelli, ever so slightly broken.
And we're missing some people, you know. And I don't know why. Buddy's not in the building, for a start. Buddy's not in the building. I don't know what's up. There's no truth this week.
Yeah, pure lies.
Pure lies. We haven't got Tongo. You don't know. There's no done know today. I don't know what's going on.
You're just
But
gonna
anyway, this is an interesting topic this week, though. Very interesting topic. We're talking about the state of the world when it comes to interracial relationships, and it's an interesting topic because jokes aside, we were talking just now about 10 years ago how things were, and I think the attitudes. Just for a start, I think the attitudes towards interracial relationships is different to 10 years ago. What do you all think in terms of how it is now?
So, would you be classed as being in an interracial relationship if your partner is mixed race?
I'm going to say something very stupid, but it depends on how they identify.
You know what? That's not stupid, you know.
They, them. No, I mean,
Shim.
Oh, shoot.
No, it's actually a very serious question.
So the reason why I say that is that there are people who may say that they are mixed race, but they are, or biracial, sorry, and they are, actually, no, it's half caste is the term that no one should use no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't actually know. Oh, well, no, half caste. Is it because, I don't know. I was going to make up something. Does anyone know?
no. but I know it's a slur.
Yeah, exactly. So we are not using that. I'm just pointing it out there for the people. Wiley, don't edit me bad. So you could have someone that is, no, I'm joking, mixed race, and then they say, right, well, no, I am white. Fine. And then you get some people
Because
who
I don't know my ex side of the family.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe how they've brought up, culturally, how they've been brought up. Then you have people that are mixed race, the same complexion, the same mixes in regards to their
Genetics.
yes, and they say that I am black. Now, the issue is that I think I can't remember what the police grouping is. IC3 is a male, and I believe IC1 is
Is a black male, IC3.
IC3 is black male, and
and
IC1 is white male. Yeah. So in that categorization, you know what I mean? A mixed race person doesn't fit into either.
To answer to your question, you mentioned about the term half caste.
Yeah.
The reason why it's no longer accepted is it's considered outdated and offensive and historically been used to describe people of mixed racial or ethnic backgrounds, particularly those with one white and one non-white parent. However, it perpetuates a binary view of identity and implies that being of mixed heritage is somehow incomplete. That's probably the reason why.
Would you be offended if somebody called you half caste?
Me, no.
Would you, Citrus?
If I was mixed race, I think I would.
You would.
I think I would.
What
And I
about
think,
mixed race then?
what's that?
What about mixed race?
I think that might, see, the thing is, it's difficult. It's difficult for someone like me who is not to try and understand.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like if a white person was trying to understand why I may find the term, let's say, BAME offensive, it's difficult to explain to people that are not in that situation. The only thing I can think of though is that if you're saying mixed race, I'm looking at it that you're not actually classing them as having a race. You're saying that they're a mixture of others, so therefore they're like without sounding crude, a mongrel, because they're not one. No, but
I thought you were going to say a hybrid.
No, I'm saying no, but what I'm saying, they're not one, they're not the other. That would be the
half-breed.
offensive way of looking at it. So if I'm looking at it in that perspective, I can see why they would be offended by that, because you're not classing them as a people. You're saying they're an offshoot of different people.
I actually wouldn't be offended.
I mean, offended. I don't think... I can see why it's offensive, but I wouldn't be offended.
But we can't, not to cut you, but I don't think we can
Understand.
to answer that question. We can say why we don't think it is.
See,
Yeah,
like, I'm going to have to jump in right
Go on.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
the reason why
definitely.
that doesn't fit in is because of the man sitting over there in the corner of that chair. Not as much rain, probably myself, definitely not you. So what it is DNA-wise,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
when you go up one or two levels, the influences, it just goes crazy.
I got freckles.
You know, yeah, he's got freckles. I got this weird straight nose. You know what I mean? My great grandmother's a little Indian woman. Do you know what I mean? So if to say here, I'm just deemed as a black guy over there. But when I went to in 1999, I think it was, or 98 maybe, we went to St. Lucia, and I went to go to see my family, and they had an event, and I was like, let's go to the event, you know. Really didn't come, but I'm still...
You have no issues still.
I have no issues with that. However, when you walked into the room, on one side was all of the Indian side of the family, and on the other side was all of the black side of the family. However, because they were just all family, I was just excited to be in the space.
Yeah, in the mix.
It's only afterwards I started speaking to some of my cousins, I was just like, what's going on? I was like, oh, that's auntie blah, blah, and that side of the family. And this is this side of the family. Yeah, you can come and sit here with us and have a drink, and because this one over here don't like that one over there, but all of them have all got the same great grandmother. Do you know what I mean? It was just a little bit weird. So, as much as, because it's not necessarily white and black, for example, using the term, there is still this mixed race or interracial, whichever way you want to kind of, or mongrel or hybrid or half-breed, you know what I mean? Whichever way you want to categorize it, there is still an aspect and element where I don't turn around and neglect whatever is in my DNA. I want to know about it. I want to understand it. I want to know about where my heritage comes from, why I look the way I look, why don't I look like, you know what I mean, my brother sitting beside me, literally my brother sitting beside me. Why is there a difference? And let me understand all aspects. So when it comes into a relationship, I think with interracial relationships, where I hold an issue, so this is me standing on one side of the fence, is my cultural values. If my cultural values are not fulfilled, I do not think I'll be happy long term in interracial relationship, because I may not fulfill my partner's cultural values and they may not be able to fulfill mine.
Explain cultural values.
So certain things like, I'm gonna have to make this a real story. So this is what happened. We've walked into my mum's house, and my partner at the time says, "Hello, auntie," to my mum, as a sign of respect. And I was like, oh, and my mum immediately, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm like, what's what you're talking about? And she was like, that's the kind of woman that you need to be bringing home. And I'm like, oh, great, well done, babe. You did really well. Then a friend came over, and it wasn't like the same day or anything, but a friend came over, and it was an English guy, come in, and he said, "You all right?" To my mum. My mum was watching the TV. He was standing to her, that would be her 3 o'clock. She didn't break stare. She just kept watching TV. I swear she was eating cashews or something. I don't know what it was, but she was...
Just spat the shit out. You flick it with the tongue.
Yeah, paid no attention. So in my head, I was thinking, Mummy said hello. But then, obviously, I played the whole thing back. I was like, you can't be saying all right to my mum. Do you know what I mean? And then afterwards, he was like, oh, no, good evening. And I was like, oh, hello. Do you know that? So now we can have a conversation. However, when we spoke separately, and he was like, well, what was that all about? And I was like, yeah.
It's a different level of...
This, out of respect, culturally, this is what we expect.
Which ties me... Sorry, I just want to jump in quickly, because it's part of the issues... You sort of, that point there, I was going to touch into, but you've actually jumped onto it, which is...
Sorry, my friend.
No, that's fine. The issues that people have with interracial relationships, which is cultural differences. And that's not necessarily the relationship aspect you're talking about, but in a relationship, cultural differences. And we see that within same race relationships, talk less of interracial ones. But cultural norms, traditions, and expectations can differ significantly between partners from different backgrounds, which can cause problems. So in the examples you're giving there, it's exactly that. If someone's coming into the house and their culture is okay with coming into the house, you're right, but in your culture, that's frowned upon, automatically there's a bias that's going to be put there from your parents to say, I'm not happy with that.
I think it's more than a bias, because I'll be honest with you, with my mum, or at the time my grandmother, if I brought home a young lady and she referred to my grand by her name or said hiya or any of those things, it's not just seen as like, okay, different cultures. It's seen as a sign of disrespect. Like, this person has no manners, they've got poor upbringing. So straight away, across the board, my grand's now looking at, and God bless her, she's passed away now, but back then for her, she's almost tarnishing the whole family, because your mum should have raised you better. Your dad should have jacked. Do you know what I mean?
Your dad should have checked on your mum.
Yeah, she's giving you everybody's getting laid down.
Yeah.
So she's not looking at you like, what is this? What you're bringing in my house? And she's using them kind of terminologies. Is this who you've chosen to put in your life?
But with the cultural differences, though, like we've seen many comedy skit where a black woman or a black man brings home a white woman or a white man, or if you're that way inclined, brings home a black man brings home a white man or whatever it may be, and they introduce them to the parents, and then the person trying to fit into the culture goes overboard. So they might start with the Wagwan and yes, Daddy or whatever it may be, and I was listening to Buju Banton, I'm listening to some Reggie. Like, is that acceptable, trying to fit in, or is that a disrespect to the culture that you're trying to, that you are dating or marrying or having a relationship with, if that makes sense?
Love the question. And it is one of those areas that is great. So my partner, she's mixed race. And I met some of her family who were white.
Right.
And he walked into this room, everyone was there, was getting, just talking. And I could see a couple of the uncles itching to have a conversation with me. For no reason, there was nothing to talk about. And then we opened a conversation like, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. What football team do you like? After the little small talks finished, we had this weird, awkward silence. In my head, I was thinking of what can I say without trying to use the reverse of been listening to some Buju Banton recently, mate. I was really struggling. I was like, so what do I say? So they're like, oh, he's trying to be one of us. Do you get what I mean? Not saying that's what they felt, but I was very conscious of it, and I was like, okay, how do you navigate this one? That's something which I was very aware of.
So how did you navigate it? What did you do?
Me, I just started integrating everyone into the conversation. So they were having chats amongst themselves, and I was just feeding in. Do you know what I mean? Just adding the tomato to the sandwich.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, okay, yeah. Don't worry.
Have you got any watermelon?
To add to Rain's point that he said earlier, to add to Rain's point he said earlier about the culture, Mela112023 says it's not culture, it's a form of respect.
Right.
And Asishe says not all cultures view or understand respect in the same way, which is interesting because that dives very much into...
Do you know when no one said nothing? Wiley's just got the whole script written out.
You know what? Well done, because it
sounds like it's right. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're watching us, look on the live to see and comment so we can mess him up.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, not a
The
research.
comments are there, mate. The comments are there. But here's the thing. So we're talking about the cultures and respect, and we're talking about in the home, in our own little society at home.
Yeah.
But there's an external society, and I did raise it earlier about 10 years ago how interracial relationships are viewed. Do you think now?
Are you talking perception?
Perception and prejudice, because understandably there are going to be some people that have disapproval, stereotypes, and microaggressions are going to be sent whichever way. And then what you may find with it is being associated with your partner who's a different race subjects you to certain discriminations that they would have coming from them.
But do you know what I think is beautiful, and it's something which has shone a light on me realizing my age, or not my age, my generation, is that friend groups of my children and adopted / foster children, whichever term fits in, the circles are so blended that I don't think race plays such a higher card as it used to. For us, it was a picture card, a Jack, Queen, King, or the Ace card. Now, I think it's a 4 of clubs. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those, take that back, let me just get a next card. Do you know what I mean? It's not regarded in the same way. So now seeing combination of races, I don't really see it as much anymore. It's not like, Reddy's got himself a new woman. Oh, where's she from? Do you know what I mean? It's not that this is Sorelli's new woman. Oh, how you doing? You're right. I'm not even turning around and saying blah, blah, blah. She may say, oh, hi, I'm from here. And I'm like, oh, you're from there. What is it like there? Or da-da-da-da-da. Or she might be like, oh, Dean, where are you from? Because you're the difference in the room. Do you get what I mean? So I think when you say it about the whole the 10-year ago thing, one thing I think of is one of my cousins. They've been married over 40 years. His missus, she's white, and obviously he's a black guy. And I remember, like when I was younger, when he used to come round to like family events, he'd get there very early, like one of the first people there, and then leave very early before, like the rowdy family turns up. Yeah. But he'd come to show face, and then the rest of the family, we ain't seen him. He was here earlier, but he's gone now. Do you know what I mean? And when we spoke further down the line, he said, I just couldn't take the small talk and the little backhanded
the chattings,
comments. He said he just couldn't take him. So he didn't like it. And he found his missus at the time having to do things that she didn't like just to try and fit in. So she would drink certain drinks that the family was drinking that she hated.
Right.
Because she grew up on drinking wine. But in the house we didn't drink wine. So she's now having a rum and black if you're that old. Do you know what I mean? Just trying to make it, just trying to fit in. So, but nowadays, I'm definitely, I think I can see the difference. So, like any of my children, if they brought home a partner from a different race, I don't think I'd be as shocked as my mum would have been if I brought home someone from a different race.
But sorry, DJ.
Yeah, sorry. So I kind of disagree with you, Citrus, and the reason why that is I think, first of all, we have to look at our locality. We're in London, a very diverse, multicultural environment with our kids in certain areas and stuff like that, and because of that, we're exposed to a larger variety of people. And because of that, I think culture has almost overtaken race in a way in the community around us.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is East London, for example, prime example. You go to a pub, you walk in there, there's a black guy in there who sounds like he's from the East End. Let's say he sounds like he's from Hackney. There's a white guy who grew up in Hackney all his life, and he sounds like he's from Hackney. There's a Chinese guy, looks Chinese, but he sounds like he's from Hackney. So these three guys are sitting here having a conversation, sounding very similar.
And if you're not looking, you can't tell.
You can't tell the difference.
Okay.
They relate to the same things. They went to the same school, Hackney Free or whatever the case may be.
My school.
I wasn't going to give it a compliment.
I don't care. My school. I'll big up my school all day, every day.
They closed it down, but it's all right.
I'll big up my school
Which is
all
why
day,
I
every
used
day.
it. But anyway, we won't talk about that. But so for them, their life and their experience to these different races isn't necessarily to do with the fact that, you're Chinese or you're white or you're this. It's more a case of he's Billy, but is the blackest white guy that I know. Do you know what I mean? That kind of... Now, if you leave Hackney, for example, and you go outside of London, I'm not even talking like Middle England, I'm just talking maybe an hour out. The culture of that area is predominantly different. So the white folk stay with the white folk, and the one black guy...
No, I can't agree with that.
I was going to say, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go on.
So I'm going to agree with Dean, because you're saying the people sat around the pub, but when they leave the pub and they go home, so you use the... let's use Hindus for an example. The only reason I say that is because I went to a Hindu wedding on the weekend. Different. Enough food. We can get into that, but enough food. It was very. It's very traditional. Now, the way that the I don't know what they called him. Preacher, pastor, imam, right? I don't know what they called him, but the way he was explaining it is that you are not marrying outside of your race. Whatever you do in the pub and all of that, that's fine. But you're not marrying outside of your... This is London. This is not Middle England. It's not Leicester or Birmingham or wherever it may be. This is in London. So there is an element of people sticking to their race, and it's a cultural thing to stick to their race. And I do know I think it was definitely was a Hindu wedding. I think to an extent some Muslim people are like that to an extent. You may have some Chinese people to an extent, some black people are like that. I think where things have changed is everyone's become a bit more liberal. Social media's helped with that. Like I've pulled up this thing. There's a girl and a guy called Dan and Keita, and they're on social media. White guy, black girl, she may be mixed race. She's from Liverpool, he's from London, and they're in a relationship. So they started a TikTok together. So they do everything together, go on holiday and whatnot. When they first come out, what was happening? The man them were on to him saying, you shouldn't be dealing with this kind of gal because she's nice looking, she's better than you, blah, 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 blah. The gal, the other, on the other side, the man them are saying to the gal, link me, link me, link me. You know what I mean? And there's an element of they're in a relationship, just show them some respect. And it comes down to who you fall in love with. And that's where the whole thing of the relationship, and this, because I was probably like a bit like, back in the day, black people should be with black people, Asian with Asian, blah, blah, blah. And then I come to realize maybe it's maturity. You're like, if the person makes you happy, who cares where they come from?
Yes.
Because even if you narrow it down, even with black people, and it's not necessarily interracial, but it's more intercultural.
Right.
You would, if you go back maybe 15, 20 years, West African people, Caribbean people getting together was frowned upon. Heavily frowned upon. Yeah. Now all you're seeing, and I think it's beautiful to see, the same way I think it's beautiful to see interracial relationships when I see them. You're now seeing so many weddings where the cultures are meshing together. So I can't remember where it was. I saw, they were in Nigerian attire, but they were coming out to dancehall. Yeah. And it's such a regular thing you see now, and it's such a great thing to see. But you go back, like this is what I said about the 10-year thing. You go back to even 10 years doesn't sound like it's that long.
Too far, yeah.
But really, 10 years ago, that was frowned upon still, and frowned upon more by the parents, not allowing the children of that time to do that. And I think maybe, as in terms of interracial relationships, certainly it was viewed in that way. I think so.
I want to come back to Relly's point of what you said, because I think it was a two-part response, yes. Right? Do you remember? Yeah. Can you just glaze over the first one and then go through the second one, just so I can respond to it?
So what I was saying about the cultural difference, in the sense of when you're in an environment and that environment has a culture, you, especially for the younger generation, it becomes part of your life. It becomes something that you can all relate to. Now, sorry, not to digress too much, but with what Rain said, the bit where I think it gets a little bit muddy is that, yes, you're right. When they go back home and they want to start choosing family and stuff like that, depending on the level of respect, I have quite a lot of friends who fall into that category where they will date outside of their race and in some cases fall in love outside of their race. But due to the respect, or in some cases the fear for their family, they won't pursue that relationship long term.
Right. Okay.
And then they will go back because they're like, yeah, I love this person, whatever the case may be, but to make that decision to go against my parents and my culture, it's something that I don't want to say they don't think they're strong enough to handle, but it's ultimately not worth doing it. So they will have their fun and have their partners from different races and almost taste the variety of life. But then when it comes down to making a decision, they will then go back to the traditional, okay, whatever my parents expect of me, I will do.
So, and the reason why I came back to the thing that you mentioned, I thought you were going to say was, like, this is London, and the melting pot of cultures. You will start, like, you will stop being shocked. Do you know what I mean? This is it. Now, like yesterday, one dude walked past me in a miniskirt, heels on, and he had a punk rocker's hairstyle. And the first thing I noticed was, I ain't seen a punk in ages.
Oh, not even the skirt.
Normality.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, Ross.
Normalization.
I even checked myself to say, there's a dude in a skirt, bro. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, okay. Do you know what I mean? So it's saying, I definitely know It's the normalization. However, a couple challenges back. Not any man, let me rephrase that, please pull it back. A lot of guys that got into interracial relationships but didn't want to face the heat, left London, went to Essex.
Mad thing.
Left London, just said, "Do you know what? I'm not dealing with it. Put me in Southend-on-Sea, and I'm all right." Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not getting that.
What you just said, clip, social media,
Push it out.
TikTok. Let's see what goes.
I see what happens. No, but it's true. If you think about it, in Liverpool, how many mixed relationships are there? And I know that's
Right.
to do with the slave trade.
That's right. Okay.
However, it didn't migrate away from there. Do you get what I mean? So yes, I definitely agree with what you're saying, Swelly, and I definitely agree with if you keep mixing these communities, eventually they're going to find a way of meshing, and you're going to get all light brown people in the next 800 years.
No, 2050.
Yeah, that's the prediction.
The majority of the planet will be brown, whatever
brown.
that means.
So,
And sorry, so the question that what I was leading up to with that is, as soon as and this is I don't know, it's the beauty and the beast. As soon as London does something, and people see it working or happening in London, other cities will adopt it. No matter how good, bad, or indifferent, it will be adopted. So what you're seeing here, which may be frowned upon in a certain part, like this corner over here in the UK, eventually you will see it filter and feed through. It may take an entire 2 or 3 generations, but it will feed through, and you will see that.
So there's so much on that to unpack, and I love the fact that you brought us.
Another reason why is if you look at the attitude to immigration, which hasn't gone down, contrary to
got worse, yeah.
a lot of people's thought process and thinking, it hasn't gone down. Visas that are being awarded are for brown people at the moment, only because of the skill sets that they're bringing into the country. That hasn't changed. You know, just the title of it has changed. So let's not get confused. But what I'm saying is, nowadays, and I'm going to say something a bit harsh. I'm Wiley, careful with the clipping. And that's what it's going to be now. You have to just give Wiley careful with the clipping.
Clip this.
I remember a time growing up in, as I said, I grew up in Hackney, but I schooled on the fringes of Hackney and Tower Hamlets. And many of the girls there, the white girls there that I remember, used to always say, "I can't wait to be old enough to have a brown baby."
Mad thing.
Because it was like a designer handbag. You know, having a brown baby was like a designer handbag.
In a lot of places, that hasn't changed.
No, but this is the thing. However, them designer handbags have now grown up. Do you get what I mean? So when you're turning around and saying this guy sounds like this guy and lives in this area, it's because his mum was probably one of the chicks that went to the school that I went to. Do you get what I mean?
And this is the point I wanted to come on to. So I'm glad you kind of started the ball rolling. Those parents I was talking about, and I'm saying that, you know, these younger generation are dating outside of their ethnicity, and when it's time to get married, they then go back and, you know, marry within their region. That has now become, as you say, different. So what I mean by that is my son goes to a school which is in Tower Hamlets. He is one of 2 to 3 kids in his... The reason I said 3 is because there's one that claims to be mixed race, but I don't want to give the dad bad news. But anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
But the fact of the matter is, when he comes out of class, when we're at the gate to leave, as soon as they step out of the gate, one kid is talking to his kid in... one dad is talking to his kid in French. The other one's talking to him in Spanish. The other one's talking in Chinese. The other one's talking in German. So the buckets of different cultures and people are now proud of their cultures. People are now empowered to speak their language in public and do that. Those kind of things never happened when I was a kid. People would... And I don't want to pick on Jamaicans, but the reason why I'm going to say Jamaicans is because they are one of the strongest accented countries in the Caribbean. And then when I was younger, and there was a Jamaican person, they used to code switch like it was a light switch. I mean, literally, they would be the strongest Jamaican accent at home when I used to go to the family and everything. But when you see them outside, totally different. They would have like there would be a couple words that they would say that.
There's some things you can't escape from.
Yeah,
but
it used to have this really like heavy thing to the point where, as a kid, I used to stand there and watch them.
did
Like,
it come BBC 4?
yeah, it was astonishing to watch. But now, the black dude that's his dad is Jamaican, and he walks in and comes to parents' evening as a Jamaican, talking the link. And I have to say it that way because
I get what you mean.
do you know what I mean? It's like I'm Jamaican and I'm proud to be Jamaican. And also, there's a kid in his class. His dad is blue-eyed, white, Bayesian, with a strong Bayesian accent. I'm like, so my son is now growing up where all of this is the norm. So it's almost like, as you just said, to get him to the point now where he's like, wow, that's different. I don't know what his tolerance will be to, I really don't know.
So I want to flip it up and switch it a bit because Wiley's been awfully quiet.
You're antagonized Wiley's what you're saying.
What would we say if our parents are alive? What would we say if our parent decided to go out with someone outside of the race?
Do you know the funny thing? I think now, and the problem with your, not problem, but the reason why your question is likely to get a more tolerant answer is because we're older, we're more mature, we know the world, we're more worldly.
Yeah.
If you asked me when I was 15, 16, 17, it's not happening. Because I'm looking at it, and this is how I was as a youngster. No, that's not right, because you're a Nigerian woman. Why are you going with a English man? You're meant to be keeping the culture. And that's the mentality I had at that age. However, as a adult, grown up, more worldly, more knowledgeable of the world, happiness is the key thing for me, you know? I don't care who my mum would have been with or who my dad would have been with, God rest his soul, because their happiness is the most important thing. And I think that's what I've taken from the world now. You can be with anybody as long as you're happy.
So imagine, and sorry, Wiley, I'm pushing you out a little bit. So imagine you met a really nice guy, a really nice Irish fella.
Shankle.
And you thought to yourself, this guy, and you thought to yourself, he's such a nice guy. He'd be nice for my mum. Would you make the why not?
Because and the thing is, even a Nigerian man, I want introduced to my mum, because you know what the difficulty is,
Mummy.
You're not even that. If you have a parent who has lost their partner, nobody will fill that void.
Right. Okay.
It's different to if your parents are divorced.
But Wiley,
It's totally
not,
different.
But I'm going to push right back. It's not filling the void. No one needs to be your dad. Your dad was your dad.
You know what?
However, and I'm not turning around and now open a dating site for your mum. But
Yeah.
I'm saying your dad was your dad.
Here's
and
the thing.
I
can answer that. I can answer that.
Go on.
I remember not long after my dad died, and my ex-partner at the time, ex-partner now, she said to me, how would you feel if your mum was to meet someone else? I said, no one can replace my dad. And no matter, even now, I can't turn around and say, you know what, my mum would want to meet someone else. No, my mum's happy as she is. That's the mentality. It's a blinded mentality. So unfortunately,
So this growing up you was talking about hasn't happened.
Exactly.
Not to me.
Okay, cool.
Not to
Okay,
me.
cool.
And the problem is, this,
But
this is the thing. This is why I say it's different when you have a parent who's passed to a deaf parent who's divorced. Because divorced
fair enough.
means that you expect both parents will go and meet someone new. But when one of your parents has passed,
So
it's
can I question you on this? And I respect your view on it, and I'll try to be as,
it's not to say my view's right, you know.
No,
I'm just saying that's
but
just my
I respect
emotional
it.
view coming through.
and I'm going to try to be as sensitive as possible to this. But on the flip side to that, do you not think to yourself, all right, I'm growing up, I've got my own family, I've got my own responsibilities. Now, my mum or dad, whoever, so I don't want to make it feel like I'm particularly picking on you. My parent is getting older, and their interests will still be their interests. Now, there are things that they'll be interested in that I'm not interested in, and there are things that I just cannot do for them, in the sense of, you know,
The level of company.
yes, even if it's
companionship.
just sitting down next to each other.
Yeah, of course.
Your mum might like to go for walks in the evening at 6 o'clock every day after dinner. You ain't doing that with your 1 million hours a week you're doing.
If my mum meets somebody, it's different to me
Who likes
saying,
walking.
"Oh, you know what? This person would be good for my mum." If my mum met a white person, I'd have no issue. If she met a Nigerian person, I'd have no issue. My point is though,
But you'd be
I
happier.
wouldn't be.
You'd have no issue with a smile on your face.
I'd have no issue. You know why? Because my thing at this age is about my mum and me and everyone else being happy. It's not about me now. It was, when I said it at the time then, it was quite raw. I look at it now, my mum's older. She's at an age where it's not like to say that she's not getting no younger in it. So your parents are not at an age where you're going to be looking and thinking, you know what, you know what you want for as a parent. My mum isn't. My mum is my mum, but she's more of an advisor now. I'm an adult. I'm going to say this phrase and I know my partner's going to laugh. I'm a man of myself. So I don't need my mum to be guiding me in the same sort of way. She can advise me on certain things, but it's not my mum in the same way when I was younger. So now, if she met somebody new, I'm happy for her. But I'm obviously, it's a change, but you get used to change. I think years ago...
But in interracial, you think it
Years ago,
it plays no part?
Here's the thing. Years ago, that would have played a part. Now it plays no part.
Really?
For me, now it plays no part.
Really?
I don't believe him. I was just going to say that. Just for the record. Just for our sanity here. I don't believe it. All right?
Okay, go on.
But I respect your view and I hear what you're saying. And as men, obviously, we have a different relationship to our mums than we do to our mothers than we do to our fathers and stuff like that. And yes, ultimately, if mummy is happy and she's been taken care of, I don't think there's a person on the planet, I hope, that would frown or, you know...
Oh, there's many, bruv.
Well, I hope not. That would look at their parents like, yeah, because this person is of a different color skin, I'm going to give them a hard time or whatever the case may be.
There are many,
I hope not. But my mum is single and I have more of an issue.
Tell me more.
Yeah, exactly. I think, if I'm being totally honest, I will have an issue with a bigger age than
A different race.
Yeah, a race. The race, I don't care. I really couldn't, it wouldn't make no difference to me. However, if my mum said to me,
I met a guy 2 years older than you.
brother, beef.
You got a problem.
Beef. It's on top.
Interesting.
Interesting. I think that whole age conversation, I'm not sure if we're supposed to delve down it, but that is a conversation for another day. It's a
2
wild
years older
one.
than me.
2 years older than you. Okay, so Rain, what about you?
So what's the question?
So if one of your parents,
Yeah.
say if your parents weren't together, for example,
Yeah.
and one of your parents decided to get into an interracial relationship, what impact or would it have an impact on you?
It wouldn't have an impact on me. I have to take it from a point of view of my parents are the ones who have raised me. And there's not even, I was going to say an element of respect. There isn't an element, there's total respect. Kind of like to Wiley's point and maybe somebody else's point, that when your parents get to a certain age, there's certain things that you can't do for your parent in regards to companionship. At the end of the day, your parents don't necessarily care about you. They care about your grandkids or they care about their grandkids. Bring my grandchild round, I'll spend time with him or her, and then they bounce. You, as long as you're all right, I'll say happy birthday to you. We'll have conversations during the week and whatnot, but you don't have an impact on my life and I can't have an impact on your life. So with that in mind, if my mum went to her own house with a Chinese...
You know what,
problem.
Say what it means. Yeah.
I'll try, yeah.
What do you really dissect this thing?
Or I still live at home with my mum. I don't. With someone from another race, I out of respect, I can't say anything. Even if I didn't like it, I still can't say anything. But I wouldn't, because, again, I said it in the first instance, Wiley repeated, it comes down to that individual's happiness.
But what happens if you can see that this person is now changing your mum?
For the better or worse?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, for example, your mum was on, every Sunday we're having Right.
No, I'm laughing because I just had to think. I was going to say what I said.
What do you mean chow mein instead of rice and beans?
Brother,
No.
Do
every
jerk chicken
Sunday,
and chow mein.
you've got full Jamaican cuisine. And now, all of a sudden, she's met Bill. She's talking about
Toad
toad in the hole.
How did I know you was going to say toad in the hole?
His favourite thing. Again,
I don't know things, bro.
if that was the case, who am I? I'm my own man.
But this is your Sunday dinner getting
It
affected.
doesn't matter. I go to my own house to make my own Sunday dinner. If that's what my mum wants to do when I go round to her house to have something she's cooked for me because she's invited me and my family down, who am I to complain? Now,
Because Bill likes it.
I don't care.
But
don't you?
if Bill's making your mum happy,
It's
why are
it's
you
fine.
complaining?
Now,
Because I was there first.
if is Bill white?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if Bill said, I go to the yard and then he's got my mum in a Ku Klux Klan hood opening the door, now we've got a problem. That's something different. Because
You've
Lord
gone to
God.
such an extreme.
I've
The extreme
gone
of extremes, you know.
that's why I started laughing when he was talking. That's the only thing I can think of. That is the extreme. Food is such a minor, man. Like, why are we getting hung up on these kind of things? It's just
I
a
mean,
minor.
I don't know. So for me,
Sorry, one
go for it,
comment.
go for it.
I want to jump in one of the comments here.
Simon said can't be told in the hole.
Can't be
Big up
told in the
Simon.
hole. Big up Simon. Simon
Yeah.
said can't be told in the hole.
Go on,
And
Simon.
Simple 81 said, did they not fall in love because of her cooking and how she is though?
Sunday dinner is serious, you know.
Sunday dinner is serious, you know.
I'm,
This is
I'm
serious,
hoping
mate.
it's because of the cooking.
you know,
But
He's her walking companion.
But here's the thing. 'Cause here's the thing. I think that is what it comes down to. Is that maybe because there's 4 men in the room, we would not want to think of anything else other than companionship in the most basic form.
Which is why I said that at the start. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
the relationship with your mum.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Can you imagine? She's met, and regardless of race, you're sitting there and then you're asking her about, oh, mum, you got a doctor's appointment this week. Do you want me to come and get you? And the new partner's like, it's all right, I've got her.
all I'm saying is there are other
The thing is,
aspects.
it sounds silly, but emotionally, you're dying inside.
Nah, there are other aspects, and like I think about my mum, and I want to go back to the part where I said if you met someone and you thought they'll be good for my mum, and I could just imagine walking in to my mum's with the same Bill guy, say, look, mum, this guy Bill. My mum would do that smiley face. Do you know that emoji that shows all your teeth? And then it will just go to the straight face emoji. Why is he in my house? You know, there'll be no, there's no middle conversation in there. So I don't have a problem with it. Could I do it? Could I make the introduction? Probably not.
I'm going to flip the question a different way around now, yeah? We're talking about our parents. Would any of us have an issue if our children came home with a child from a different race? And I don't mean issue like, oh, we would
You
be
mean
against it.
if children came on with a partner?
Yeah, partner from a different race.
Do you know what? I know it sounds mad. I'm kind of expecting it.
Why?
Because of the same
Melting pot.
melting pot that Sorelli spoke of.
I'm kind of with you. I think if I look at what my son's being taught at school
And exposed
and say again,
and exposed to.
and exposed to, I think in my son's class, I think he is one of 30 children in the class. I think there's 5, 6 black children in his class. There's a couple from Oriental backgrounds, a few who are from South Asian backgrounds, and then Eastern European, and then English white. So I think I'm expecting it. Now, the only thing that may change that is relationships that he's seen me in historically. He might think, no, daddy's done this, so I'm going to do that. Now, is it right or wrong? To be honest with you, if you had spoken to me maybe 25 years ago, my viewpoint on it would have been very different. I think I would have been, no, you got to stay with black, because I probably couldn't give an answer. Now, again, as long as you're happy, if that person makes you happy, do what you need to do, man.
So ready?
I'll be honest with you. When you stuttered on the fact that 25 years ago you couldn't think of a reason why, I was in the same place as you, and I have two much older kids who are in that position now,
Right.
where I expect them to bring home partners, and one of them has, and for a dad,
It's really still emotional back.
yeah, bro.
Got a frog in his throat.
I'd be lying if I said that when your son brings home a partner, it's totally different to how your daughter brings home a partner. So
Why? Explain.
the same reason why you would have an issue with your mum seeing a new. So he brought home someone, and I didn't bat an eyelid. I'm really like, okay, but I knew it wasn't serious because it was someone that he'd been talking about, and I've heard conversations and stuff. And you know, as a parent, you can kind of hear the not seriousness about this conversation. But anyway, and 25 years ago, like yourself, I would have probably had that same view of, well, what's wrong with the... And it's not a case of I would have had a problem with him having somebody from a different race. It would have been more a question of, what's wrong with somebody from your own race?
Right, okay.
Do you understand what I mean? So, and it would have been that way...
You know, that's exactly the same thing.
He's triangling. That's what he's doing, but it's fine. I let him get away with it.
The reason for that, and you're right, is because 25 years ago, that would have been the mentality. It would have been a case of find a problem to justify my view. So it would have been, why can't you have a black girlfriend? And why is it not someone of your same culture who can relate to things with you and can eat the same food as you and that kind of stuff? Now, obviously you grow up and you grow wiser and you understand things and you educate yourself every day. But for me, 25 years ago, yeah, it would have been almost like, and it sounds really silly when I'm even saying it now, and obviously you grow and learn, but back then, my view on what slavery had done to us and this and that and the other
Right, okay.
gave me that value that I felt I need to preserve the little piece of blackness that we still
So
have.
you had an anger not necessarily to white people, but an anger to the whole history of what had happened to you.
What had happened,
What happened to our people.
Yeah, so for that reason, I felt like there was something I needed to protect. So I just wanted to kind of explain that point, because when you said you couldn't think of it, for me personally, that's what it was. It was like, okay, all of this has happened, we've been through all of this, and now we are where we are, and it's been eroded, and we've got this left. So I need to secure this and I need to protect it.
So none of us now have the stance of someone like Dr. Umar, who, as far as he's concerned, it's about...
No snow bunnies.
You know what's making me laugh?
The
producer, as you said, Dr. Umar, the producers started laughing.
So for people who are not...
It wasn't Siri laughing, it was the producer laughing.
So for people who are not au fait with Dr.
Yes.
Umar, please...
Explain what you
So
mean.
Dr. Umar is a Pan-Africanism specialist, and he is now. I don't want to misquote and say he is saying no one. What he's basically saying is that your race should stay with your race. So no dating outside of your race. Now, whether that's to preserve the bloodline or to keep cultural, I'm not sure. But he is very... The term he uses is snow bunnies, is in if a black man goes with a white woman, or I'm not sure what the reverse of it.
I don't know what the reverse is.
But he doesn't care about that. I'm assuming he's thinking about who produces the sperm and whatever it may be, because he does go quite deep. But again, it's a very radical view, to the point where I think he's not banned from coming to any countries, but he gets a lot of fight from people saying you can't say that. So are none of us here like, you have to be with your own race? Now, it's not racist to say that, because you might be saying, white community, stay with your white community. The Indian, Asian community, you stay with your community. You know what I mean? The Far Eastern community, you stay there. Is anyone thinking that?
He considers himself a Pan-Africanist,
Yeah.
and has views including condemning interracial marriage.
Right. So not just black, it's just interracial marriage.
Full stop.
Right. So is there anything wrong with that?
I have a problem, but it's not with the marriage. The problem I have is, whoever you are, whatever race you're from, however you come together, you should not abandon your race and adopt your partner's race and just abandon yours, especially if you have kids. I think it's very important that you bring with you your culture, you bring with you your race, you bring with you your experiences, you bring your side, because my racial background is me. It's who I am. So if I'm supposed to be with someone and I'm supposed to give you everything I have, that is part of me that I'm supposed to give to you as well. And then in the middle, you work something out. So if you do have a child and you're from Jamaica and your partner's from Denmark, yeah, bashment music should be played in the house as well as whatever the Danish play, you know, dance around the pole or whatever it is. We should still be cooking.
Danish folk.
Yeah, Danish folklore or whatever it is, thank you. You should still be cooking your jerk chicken and your oxtail, and then also bringing in the Danish sausages or whatever it is that they have. It should be a balance. You should expose your child to all of this because you want them to have a balance of who they are.
But what if the children or the partner doesn't like that though?
Then they don't
They
like
don't
you.
like. No. They don't. No. They don't like the cooking. They don't like the culture. They don't align themselves to it.
Then they don't like you.
They don't like you.
They don't like you. Why is it they don't like you?
Because if that's what you are,
the producer is sighing very hard. we have to wire up with a microphone at some stage. You know?
let's flip it on its head. You meet a young lady. You're single. You meet a young lady. She's from Australia.
First one of those sweaty moments.
Yeah, straight up. Let's dig that hole. Ever so slightly broken. She's from Australia. You cannot stand nothing to do with Australia. You don't like the accent. You don't like the temperature out there. It's really hot. You don't like the food. You don't like the culture. You don't like nothing. But this person is that. That's what they represent. They eat the traditional food on the weekend. They go there once every 6 months on holiday. This is part of their life. And you're now segregating that person and say, well, I like you, but just don't show me these elements to you. In my view, you don't like this person.
Okay, so I'm very wary of the time.
Oh, yes.
So, but there are a few questions that I wanted to ask and get answers to
Go for it.
about interracial relationships.
Go for it.
Whose race goes first?
Explain.
Whose race goes 1st? I get your question.
The Asiatic black man that goes here first. No, I'm joking.
I get your question. Whose race goes first, as in whose is more important, who's viewed as the more important? I think when it comes to, I think it comes down to the area. If we go with the areas of the country, it said it. I was reading up some stats and it said something about the areas that have the most mixed relationships tend to be, apart from those of the ports areas, it tends to be like
He said
Nottingham.
ports.
Yeah, ports.
Ports.
Yes, indeed. It's it's areas like Nottingham, Cambridge, Reading, etc. In those areas, there is quite a high density of black or other races in there. So I think what you will find, if you're talking about areas where that race is a high number of people, probably that race will be higher. That race will be the one that is viewed, I don't want to say higher, but viewed as the one that is above. If you're talking about areas where it is not the ethnic races, you're likely to find it will be the indigenous white race. So with regard to what you're saying, I totally understand what you're saying, which is more important. The importance will probably be be affected by your environment.
To answer your question, I think it should be equal.
It should be.
But then the race which will dominate will be the
Person that's more cultural.
More proud of where they come from, more
Indeed.
cultural. And that's what will happen.
And what you'll find, sorry, before I go to Sorelli, what you'll find is you're likely to be more proud of your culture if you're in an environment where your culture is celebrated. So
Amen.
if you're talking about London, Birmingham, Manchester, Birmingham, Manchester and Birmingham has got a very big West Indian area of people. Same thing like with it's now becoming a bit more like the West African area of people that are there. So they celebrate themselves. You go to Moss Side, you'll get a lot of like bakeries and stuff baking Caribbean food, Caribbean bread. So the culture is celebrated. Where the culture is celebrated, people are more more inclined to put their culture out there and be proud of it. Where the culture ain't celebrated, you're not likely to see that.
It's been diminished. Okay, so your partner isn't proud of their culture. Would you encourage them to go and investigate?
100%.
So Sorelli spoke of the Danish.
Have we got kids?
You haven't got kids.
That's your business then. She don't want to be proud, then I'll show you my thing.
That's the thing. I don't believe it's for me to tell you what to do about your culture.
To be proud of yourself.
Because you would have your experience of your culture. Am I now going to start making rice and peas, but you don't know how to make rice and peas? I'm making my interpretation of rice and peas.
Stop.
Don't make an interpretation of rice and peas.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
No, but it's valid. It's valid.
It is a valid point.
Yeah.
But, and sorry, I know we're not allowed to do this, goes against the podcast rules. Wiley learned how to make Caribbean food.
Yeah, I know it.
He went and actively, he has a Caribbean partner and went and learned how to make, he went to St. Lucia to learn how to make dishes from St. Lucia. How Nigerian is that? Do you get what I mean? I'm turning around and saying, wow, I used to have a good relationship with his partner, and each time I talk to her about it, I'm like, oh, how's this and how's that, how is this? And she's always laughing at me, but then I say to her, but how is your Nigerian cooking?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How's that coming on? She's like, leave me alone. And I'm like, no.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? So it's something that we kind of, have a little joke about. But I think it's so important because ultimately there are foods that I love. And as much as I love my partner, if she weren't making them foods, I could see that love slowly eroding.
Dwindling.
Yeah, because I'm going to go and seek the food elsewhere. And I'm not turning around and saying a partner. I'm saying I'm going to go and seek the food elsewhere.
You mean food, yeah?
Food, yeah.
Oh, I see.
So, nourishment. I'm turning around and saying, you go and seek to say, well, where can I get this dish from? Where can I get food that reminds me of home or reminds me of my family or my culture? Do you know what I mean? You want to be reminded of that. So there comes an aspect. I think it's important that you understand the culture, even if it's not, while you use the term celebrated. I think you definitely need to understand it and be a part of it. Try and see what's going on. And the reason why I'm saying that, and this never came up in the 10 years ago question, but Afrobeats on the radio. A song from an African artist 10 years ago playing on Radio 1, BBC, One
Better
Extra.
still, having one of the biggest concerts that London has ever seen.
Forget the concerts. I'm just saying being exposed to, because we spoke about the culture in it, being exposed to the culture, right? So to get a concert, you need to get people to come along, right? For people to come along, you need to hear the music. Hear the music needs to be on the radio. Do you get what I mean? So I'm turning around and saying, 10 years ago, you couldn't name me an artist from, I'm saying Africa.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not even going to say Nigeria or Sierra Leone or Ghana.
Yeah.
I'm going to say...
Lady Blacksmith Mambazo.
No, I'd say it's longer than... I get the point you're making, but it's more
Longer
than 10
than
years.
10 years, yeah.
It's definitely more than 10 years. Because 10 years ago, I
was a
would
Heinz
say...
advert.
That's what, 2014. I'd say Afrobeats was kicking in by then.
What was the song then? What was the song?
What's it called? The Banjo song, the one went number one. Oliver Twist. That went number one about 2014, 2013. Then you got the UK artist, the one who...
Okay, I'm
going
to push you back on that one.
Go on.
I didn't even know that was Afrobeats.
It was Afro. And the thing is...
No. I didn't know it was Afrobeats.
But you know why?
How that song was produced and what was played out wasn't your traditional
Afrobeats.
Afrobeats.
But you know the funny thing is, though...
Do you get what I mean?
When you went out to... our clubs, and I say our clubs, meaning clubs where we would go to, Afrobeats had its own segment now because it was now at a point where it had blown.
That's still underground though.
It's underground.
I'm talking Radio 1. I'm talking.
That's what I'm saying. For the bands to get to number one, that had blown to a point. Now it's blown well beyond that. But at that point,
but I think I don't want to the nitties. The nitty gritty, I should say. Let me just be clear. But I just want to make sure that that we're starting to understand it. And,
I get your point. The point you're making, fully get it on.
When I'm turning around and saying about being interracial in society today, the thing that I do like to see is when you just see people that are happy, and beforehand, and this can be pushed to whatever combination of people that you want to talk about. However, I love the idea that my children can turn around and say, you know, as Rain said, his child's in the school where there are, do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's called Commonwealth Day anymore, or whatever the World Celebration Day is. Do you know what I mean? There are influences from 12 or 15 different countries, different cultures. That's amazing. Sorelli spoke about at the school gate, 7 different languages being spoken. We were fortunate enough a couple of weeks ago to go and see one of our foster daughters overseas, and meeting the people there, everyone spoke 4 languages minimum. But they did the ceremony in English just because they know my dry ass only speaks one language.
We're the dumb ones, isn't
Do you know what I mean? And that was just terrible. But what was great is even there were lots of couples in interracial relationships, but just not the race combinations that we're used to. Do you know what I mean? This person's from Chile, this person's from Colombia, this person's from Germany, this person's from the Netherlands, this person's from France. And I'm like, Ross, do you know what I mean? This and just to see it, I was just like, is this what it looks like when it gets the opportunity to evolve and become the norm? You know, we didn't touch on it fully, but the World Cup was on. The Euros was on, the Euro finals. And I watched it I was in Switzerland. And obviously Spain went 1-0 up. And somehow, I don't know how I found myself in a Spanish fan zone. About 2,500 Spanish fans.
You did the madness.
And then there was me and a couple other people, one dude over there, one woman put a flag over the side of the thing. One guy did, you know, the English thing where they paint the St. George's flag on his boat.
This is where you need to hit me.
Yeah, and all of that. So when Spain scored, it went nuts. And then when Shaq goes out to Cole Palmer, it's Bayesian, isn't it?
Yes. His dad's Bayesian.
Yeah. But anyway,
go on.
When Cole Palmer scored, I celebrated. And I did a video, I was singing la la la, doing the England, surrounded by all of these
Spanish and the mixed emotions
Spanish
in that way.
Fans, but the looks, I was like, yo. But what was good was afterwards, because they didn't realise I was English. So afterwards, like, I was having lots of conversations with people around me, and they were saying, "What's your prediction?" And I said, by the looks of it, it looks like Spain are going to win. Only because of and I don't want to make this about a football podcast, but I gave my opinion. And then when Spain scored, they were celebrating. I celebrated. It was a good goal. Do you know what I mean? I was like, you know, it's not the result that I wanted, but it was great. And loads of the Spanish fans came up to me and spoke to me afterwards. Some of them only spoke Spanish. Do you know what I mean? But that weren't the point. We were still trying to communicate. And I thought that was beautiful. And this is, so when I think about what society might look like in the future, what an interracial society could look like, these are the things that I'd like to envision. To have people from all different backgrounds in the same space, being able to celebrate or support something together. Having, you know what I mean, being in a position where you can speak more than 2 or 3 languages. So no matter what the obvious boundary are, we should be able to find some form of common ground to communicate, regardless what subject or topic we're aiming to communicate on. I'm going to use this for my roundup.
Don't go through.
But I definitely think that there is a beauty in that. Do I think that 14-year-old Dean would have walked home with a white girl? I would have walked her home. Would I have brought her into my house?
Oh, okay.
Techie.
Well, you wouldn't have.
Wait, 14.
You wouldn't have.
You at 14, I don't think.
Pan.
And you have to think 14 is what, about you're talking without
Pantonic,
throwing
yeah.
any ages out there. You're talking about however many years ago. I don't think that's happening. Personally,
It's not happening.
I think the world is different.
But would my 14-year-old walk home with a person from a different race? I do think so.
Yeah.
And that's my summary.
I'm going to actually touch on to something you said because you was talking about football, and try and quickly. To be honest with you, it's a broader convo, but it was talking about successful black women, successful black men, and amongst them, the likelihood of them marrying outside their races, 12% of black women would do so or have done so.
Well, successful black women.
Yeah. 20, and the definition of success is quite broad.
Yeah.
It becomes a bit whatever. 25% of black men have married outside their race. Part of the discussion coming up that I've had outside of the podcast has been with people who have been saying, well, one thing they want to ask the question of is, why is it that when they see successful black men, be it in sports, be it in whatever, they tend to have white partners? Now, I've got my own take on that, but I wanted to find out from others, what do you think could be the answer for that?
It's the circle. It's the circle that they're in.
What they're exposed to.
Yeah, well, yeah, or it's who's around in
access,
those
right?
circles. So if you think about, so use football for example. You've got okay. There is a contingent, and I'm not saying that's everyone, but there's a contingent of females that look for footballers, and they go to certain clubs. And yes, black women go to those clubs as well. But if we think about, I can't even remember what the club was, but it was a few years ago where there was a club that was refusing black girls entry, and this was in the UK. I can't remember.
In the West End.
It was in the West End, and there was protests out there. Things like that happen. So then the black men are exposed to white females. Now, again, I can't actually, exposed is the wrong word, because you like what you like and you get into a relationship with who you want to get into, but it's the circle. When you get into, let's think about the boardroom. So you might have the scenario where there is a black board member and he's married to a white woman. The reason being is that he might have met that woman at work. Now, how many black women are at that level that he can interact with and cipher with? Maybe not many. Like, we've all had high-paying jobs, and some of us still do have high-paying jobs in companies that we don't own. How many people do we see that are like us? And when I say like us, I don't mean just that they are black in complexion or whatever. It is culturally. Can you walk into work and say wagwan to people at work? No. Can you talk about realistically that you went to a Capleton show and them understand that even though he's bunning out X, Y, and Z, it's just music? No. So therefore, you subconsciously change yourself and you fit into that circle and you start talking about, I don't know. There was
Love Island.
Love Island 1. There's what's that that rock group? Not rock group. There's a indie group. That everyone talks about. When you say, oh, I listen to alternative music, and they tell you this group.
Not Oasis.
Not Oasis, but they're one. But them people there. Black people tend to, right, that's why it's their way in. But there's other groups that are a lot better, you know what I mean? But it's the circle. That's why it happens. And again, like Barack Obama, whether you want to say that Michelle is a man or a woman, he's one of the most, no, but that's the thing that's out there. You lot read, you lot must know. But he is one of the men who has a black woman, black kids. There's no shit about him historically, apart from he smoked weed once in college. Same thing with Kamala Harris, but her partner's a bit different. That's seen as quite rare. Others, they're just doing whatever they want to do, which is fine. Do what you want to do. But it's the circle.
You know, the funny thing, I was looking at it, particularly with footballers, and I thought to myself, and it's funny, we was talking about the areas that are mixed in coastal areas and whatever, and I think sometimes your environment, I grew up in an area where the majority of the children in my school were black.
Right.
So irrespective of the fact that it was Caribbean, Nigerian, Gambian, Ghanaian, wherever they were from, the cultures were a black culture. There were certain things that we all understood. And I think that's what it may well come down to in some instances. I can't say in all, but in some instances where if you're in an environment, let's say as a footballer, and you move to somewhere like Middlesbrough, which may have, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong with this, may have a small density of black people. Are you likely to meet a black partner there? If you're going there at 18, 19, and you spend a 10-year career there, you're going to meet who you meet. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that is the environment people go into.
Yeah.
So that's just my thing.
And then the other side, I suppose, is if you look at it in the US with basketball stars, baseball stars, American football players, and look at the correlation there and see, does it reflect the same way because of their exposure. However, which is a big shame, is we don't ever see promoted here in the UK anyway, many African sports or sports where, like Nigeria are the world champions. I couldn't name you one sport that Nigeria are the world champions. To be fair, I couldn't name one sport, apart from South Africa and rugby, I couldn't name one sport, maybe cricket on the borderline. I couldn't name one sport that there is an African nation that are world leaders. Do you get what I mean? So therefore, those Nigerians, so those African on the continent, those African sports stars that potentially have black partners, you are not seeing them as a profile.
Right, okay. Yeah, okay.
You know? So if it was, I don't know, let's just make it up, team badminton, I'm just going to just make it up. If team badminton became the sport of all sports and South Sudan were the best
distance running, group for real, distance running, you don't ever see that thrown as a thing.
However, I said team.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The team. So because you're not seeing
A group of people. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll see one and be like, oh yeah, all right, cool. But that's just one.
Yeah, it's not a team.
Do you know what I mean? It's not a team. But if you're seeing hordes of people, then it's a difference. And because of that, you then the exposure then changes, which is a huge shame. And it's not like sport don't take place, do you know what I mean, on the continent.
Yeah.
But you're just not exposed to it.
I'm sorry. I think we're on this kumbaya thing, and I have to throw.
I could see. You know what? I was about to come to Sereni, but I saw his hand going up,
Body
down,
in the building.
around.
Yeah. I think you're
kind of
on
kung fu
some
moves.
kumbaya
Go on, talk it.
freeze.
Talk your talk.
Yeah, because we don't see them on the screen. And brother, let's be honest. There are athletes, there are actors, that seek out the blonde-eyed, size 0, 6'2" women.
Wrong. This guy.
Let me finish.
Blonde-eyed.
So wait,
No, blue-eyed, blonde hair. Let me finish.
Wait, just for clarity, so you're saying that there are black men or athletes, women, that will search out the white man and white female?
No, sorry.
Right,
Let me say it again. There are professional athletes
Yes.
and actors who are seeking out the white women with the blue eyes, blonde hair, size 0, because they look good on their arms, or they are a fashion statement or a piece because they know that this will look good on TikTok. It will give them another group of following. It will raise their profile.
Them man are looking at you with disdain. I'm looking at the time,
you
and I know we ain't got time for this.
You can do that. But this kumbaya thing that you lot are on, I'm not on it.
It's not a kumbaya thing.
It's not a kumbaya I personally believe. Hold on, let me finish because he was on this.
I'm going to let you finish. Go.
There is a area in our society where this has become an attractive figure to the youth. It's become something that's fashionable. It's like having a designer handbag. This is, I'm going to have this partner. We're going to have a little mixed race kids, and we are going to be this couple. We're going to be this brand.
30 seconds to respond. 30 seconds only.
Completely incorrect. And the reason why, if you look at what trends the most, the influencers now will step outside of what you just described, and you're looking at the more Mediterranean, mixed race, light skin, or super dark skin. The range has flipped itself on today's society. So I can't accept that.
You boy, it's It's an interesting perspective, and I would say this much, that there are a number of people, I think, who that would prescribe to that, but I think it's down to influences and where they're around. So, for example, you look at certain actors, they're only in certain circles, so that would look good in their circle. Whereas there are other actors, let's say the Denzel Washingtons, the others, etc., who are broader than that. And those people there, they don't really prescribe to that circle. Where the circle you're talking about, I understand what you're talking about, but I think it's a circle of people. I think Cat Williams said it, isn't it? About people falling into that circle because that is what they are moving with. That's what I think it comes down to. It's the circles and the environments people are in. Rain.
Yeah, no, I think is that I had a sentence in my head and it's gone, but I just think it's I think to say that people look for, you are the star, and then the star is going to look for someone which is white with blue eyes to look good on their arm. I think the thought process is for me, it's like you know that, remember when you had a computer and it had a syntax error? Like, you don't know what's wrong with the computer, but it's just an error. For me, that's all I get. I can't process any further than that. I think there's an element of people going out from both sides and looking for a white or black man, whether it be they're famous or not. That happens, and it's not just white and black, it's Asian, it could be wherever you are from in the world. I get that happens, but to say that they do it because they want someone to look good, that is a whole different debate, because what you're then saying is that these people suffer from internalized racism, where they don't believe that their own self is good enough to be in a power couple to present to the world. And that's where I'm going to end on.
Listen, that is going to be does love see any color even?
Matting.
Part 2. That's going to be part 2. Shouts out to Mr. Lionel, who says, I think black people see no colour with love, but other backgrounds do. In addition, some decisions are calculated or no effort is made, in my opinion. Proximity is also a fact. We're going to touch onto this, because it's a broader conversation. We are going to touch onto this. But make sure you're following us on TikTok, first and foremost. Make sure you're watching the whole episodes on YouTube and you're liking and subscribing. Make sure you're doing that, because we want to try and grow and grow and grow and get everyone involved in the conversations. Some of the conversations are being held on TikTok where people are really going deep into things being said there. I must emphasize, with those conversations, the full context of things is always on YouTube.
Yeah.
Make sure you're watching the YouTube channel, because the whole conversation happens there. You get to see everything from start to finish. So make sure you're watching us on YouTube. But this has been the eMpTy Podcast. Been a great conversation this week. And don't forget, if the glass ain't half full, it's empty.
Nah, come on. Rain, seriously. You're telling me...
We can cut.
No.
Go.
You're telling me that there are people out there that are not looking for what they would call a designer baby, which has the...
What's the girl's name? Zendaya?
Oh, the one that's going out with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Zendaya.
Zendaya or something.
Zendaya.
Yeah.